Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another comic book review. And coincidentally, we're going to talk about Matt Fraction's Hawkeye run, issues 1 through 22. Luckily, because I know recently the new Hawkeye TV show trailer came out, and everybody's a buzz about it. And I was already planning on doing because I nearly forgot about that doggone show. And luckily, I was already in the midst of reviewing this comic for the next comic book review. And I just, wrapped it up. So I'm ready to go over it. There's going to be a few cameos. Oh, I cannot wait for that doggone Hawkeye show. Because unlike most people who, well, they not necessarily written off Hawkeye as a character for the MCU, they're more so kind of written off Jeremy Renner for several issues that don't want to go over here, but it, it's blatant, but not something like I personally want to crucify him for necessarily. But I always thought he was a great Hawkeye. I love Hawkeye character. I know certain characters like Hawkeye and for the most part Black Widow. They didn't get much to do, let alone their own stuff to be the primary stars of. And Black Widow, I enjoy Black Widow. It just, you know, it didn't wow a lot of people. Like, we've been waiting for it for the longest time, and it didn't really wow a lot of people. So, hopefully, the TV show of Hawkeye will do gangbusters, especially when it's introducing Kate Bishop. So definitely looking forward to it. Coming out in November, it's gonna be like a whole Christmas Die Hard theme to it, and definitely gonna be relying heavily on the Matt Fraction's run storylines. And after reading the issues here, I can glean which parts they're gonna be pulling from, especially because there are a couple of Christmas issues in the run. Uh, So, I mean, I think this is like a really, honestly, I just want to put it out there. This is actually a really solid Hawkeye story. If there's any Hawkeye story that you want to like dive into, the Mac Freshers one is like a good jumping on point. You get like certain cameos from certain uh, Avengers characters, but not much. And it's pretty much localized to Bed-Stuy, New York, and more specifically, this particular apartment Hawkeye lives in. And given the fact that his primary antagonist throughout the run will more than likely be part of the TV show, these tracksuit Russians. And they say, like, bro, like, bro a lot. They say, bro, like, what you doing here, bro? Like, but more in a Russian accent. Uh, Clint calls him tracksuit. One particular guy, the leader, at least one of like the subordinate leader hierarchy thing, or like second in command kind of dude. Uh, you know, uh, Tracksuit Dracula or Ivan the Tracksuit Terrible, something like that. Just very funny things. And then there's like certain moments when normally we read a comic and somebody's speaking in a different language and it's like translated and in brackets and stuff like that. Clint just like in his POV, he's not having none of that, because like something Russian, curse word, blah blah blah, and I thought it was freaking hilarious. It's like that sounds like Clint. Uh, but I gotta say, just a side note, like I love like the Hawkeye in MCU, and he has moments, and when they really show, especially in Age of Ultron. And I do, unlike most people, I do actually love Age of Ultron. It's not like I won't say it's superior or anything like that, but it's definitely a really good uh, uh, Avengers movie. And Hawkeye definitely had time to shine, especially you know towards the third act when he's giving like a pep talk to Wanda, who's pretty much like frozen and like scared and like in the thick of battle and don't know what to do with herself. And it's like, I get it. Uh, you know, we're in a floating city fighting an army of robots, and I have a bow and arrow. None of it makes sense. But I'm going out there because it's my job. And I'll get your brother. If you want to stay here, I'll go get your brother. He'll come get you. Uh, but if you walk out there, you are an Avenger. And it's come out there like a straight up badass. And it's like, yeah, that's freaking Hawkeye. Like, him and Black Widows is like the human characters. It's kind of similar to like Batman or Green Arrow in the Justice League. It's like they are able to, like, even though they have no superpowers whatsoever, they manage to, like, because they're still like in, like, peak physical conditions, but they still manage to keep up with the likes of like Captain America or Thor and Hulk, because they hold their own, and I think that's like solid in its own right. So we get in issue 1. This is like an event. Like, I don't know if it's like an Avengers type of adventure. I don't think so. It's kind of like some kind of like a solo adventure, and like Clint, in costume, jumping out of a window, just narrowly shooting a grapple arrow to roughly cushion the fall, but he still manages to, like, fall on top of a car, which shows, I mean, this is kind of like the Daredevil show and in the Netflix shows. It's kind of like, despite whatever skills you might have, they're relatively still human, and like they suffer human injuries, and like they have to recuperate. So after he fell on top of this car, he he had like what was it? He was banged up pretty bad for like a good 6 weeks of recuperation from like a shattered pelvis, 3 broken ribs, sprained neck, cracked fibula, his clavicle messed up, right? Like, what was that word? Ulna, ULNA, and spleen nearly ruptured. And like Clint just laughed. I was like, I thought you said I was hurt, doc. So of course, you just spend like, normally injuries like that, I'm not a doctor, but I expect them to, like, be months before any kind of solid recuperation. Then, of course, what you call those things when like people like help you like with movements and stuff like that, trying to, exercise a bit, little by little, just to relearn certain motor skills before they can, be solid again. He managed to get through it pretty decently within 6 weeks. So he's just spent like pretty much R&R, and like he coming back home, and then he sees pretty much like the landlord of the area, at least pretty much like this, I guess, this pseudo very minor on the total point, because there's some like villains cameos in here, and like this tracksuit type of gang who's obviously very low on the totem pole by comparison to the other villains that show up at this little secret meeting. You got being led by the Kingpin. You got like Mr. Negative, Owlman, not Owlman, the Owl, Madam Mask, Hammerhead, oh crap, what's his name? He was in the Spectacular Spider-Man as the big man. Crap, what's his name? Crap, he's like antagonist to like Robbie Robertson in like 90s Spider-Man TV show. Well, Silvermane is in it, but he also worked with Silvermane. Crap, Tombstone is in there too, and this is all like just cameos. But like at the other end of the table, you got this very old, geezer in like a white tracksuit who look like he's barely holding on to life. probably look like he's older than Silvermane himself, and they're like controlling certain areas, but they just like I said, low on the totem pole. So they managed to control like certain parts of Bed-Stuy, which includes this apartment that Clint happens to be living in, and like he's coming home and he sees one of like the tracksuit dudes, uh, like what's his name? We just make fun of his name, but it's pretty much tracksuit mafia. We just call him Ivan. We'll just call him Ivan. This is probably not his name, but whatever. Uh, this bald headed, thick mustache Russian dude's kicking out this woman, this black woman named Simone, who has her baby in one hand and a kind of like a not a toddler, but slightly older than a toddler. Outside being evicted, essentially, and like Clint is pretty much stepping in because like he knows these people because like I guess I don't know how it is in New York and when you live in like an apartment situation and they have these little parties on a rooftop and they just like you know you know I guess kind of like a potluck type of situation when like they just get together and like he's like, yo, Ivan, do you think you can have this conversation another day when you're not you're screaming at their mother in front of her kids and stuff like that and doing all this extra stuff and he's showing Clint this paperwork is like she didn't pay her rent even though they're apparently tripling the rent was far beyond somebody's means and this is like a very relatable situation because like who hasn't dealt with a situation where a landlord, maybe not, some like schemy and skeezy, but a landlord who's like raising like the price of rent to like levels that's like people can barely make, depending on their work situation. And this is like a single mother with two kids you have to look after. And like Clinton's just like befuddled as you look in this paperwork and it's like, like after she asked him, like, Clinton, can they do this? And it's like, well, according to this, like, technically you can. And it's kind of like he's kind of like broken up. You get like, certain flashes of like backs into the present, and the present, he's like in this little veterinary hospital over this dog. We'll get to that in a second. And then, Clint, eventually decides like hey somehow he gathers some cash and like just like a big duffel bag full of cash he tosses it like in because it goes in this little shop like and like these tracksuit mafia runs and he knows they're holed up at and he goes to this back room where they're gambling and he tosses like this duffel bag full of money in front of Ivan saying like here there's all like this is like a plenty enough money for me to I want to buy out the apartment. I'm the new landlord, just get the hell out, leave these people alone. And like they have none of it, so they get in this big fight and like even though Clinton's holding his own, he's one man. I can definitely see Daredevil being able to take on this room full of people, but Clint, even though he's skilled, it's like I won't say it's like power scaling, but it's just I think someone like because I think he's more he's skilled with a bow and arrow. He obviously has some like hand-to-hand fighting skills, but it's not up to the same level as like Daredevil, who I think can easily handle a room full of these goons far easier than Clint has. He's he's holding his own until eventually he just get caught off guard and hit by a bottle. So he's like, just bleeding and just sitting in like a waiting room. What looks like a veterinarian office, because I guess he couldn't afford, to go to an actual human hospital. But this dog ended up saving him when the fight is taken outside. But the dog ended up getting like kicked in the face by one of these goons, and it's like, and it hurt my soul seeing it. It's like I'm not a huge dog person. I'm more of a cat person. But even still, like, what kind of monster kicks a dog? And especially into traffic, and the dog, got hurt, but is alive. And Clint went out of his way to make sure like that, dog, was taken to the vet where he's still bleeding, and these tracks of people track him down, and uh, he still like managed to kick their butt. Where there's only like 3 left, so he took Ivan, straight to a cab, and it's like, like, get the hell out of here. I don't want to see you again. So the vet, tells Clint that, yeah, the dog will survive, and according to the collar, his name's Arrow, and Clint eventually renames him just Lucky, because that's, I guess, kind of too on the nose for him. And he meets his dog earlier before he goes in that shop, to fight those mafia goons. Well, it's not his intention to fight them, but it ends up that way. But he walks outside, he's eating a pizza, and then this dog, I guess, was theirs or something like that. But he, fed him a slice of pizza and everything like that, and it's like, formed like a short bond. So that's how, like, he got himself a new dog. If you play the Avengers game and the Hawkeye DLCs, you see the dog there. So it's like I said, this is like a part of the best Hawkeye story, or at least most known Hawkeye story. And him having like a dog is, pretty much, cemented in, I guess, Hawkeye canon that he has a dog named Lucky. Okay, on issue number 2. Just to recall here. So he's sitting there practicing like his like a little he practices pretty much every day to keep his like bow skills sharp. And he's sitting there talking with Kate. And they go on like a mission. Oh, Mesmero was in this too. Mesmero was like, I think he was like a there was like a X-Men, or no, I remember like that old cartoon, the Superhero Squad. It was a Marvel show, and I vaguely remember Mesmero was in that, and I think he was like an X-Men bad guy, I think, or he's just like a general bad guy for Marvel characters. But it's like, I think that was the first time I actually see Mesmero in anything, and like, as a kid, I assumed he was an X-Men bad guy because he was fighting the X-Men in that show. I could be wrong. It could be misremembering, but he's in this. They go into this like magic, him and Clint and Kate goes to this magic show to where this bunch of criminals are at. It's like, it's kind of like a secret place where he's, Clint also run into, I'm pretty sure, like the swordsman, one of his guys he knew from the circus. And I don't know what the mission was in here, but they cause like, just this big ruckus trying to crap, I'm blanking on like, what was the mission. Oh, well, they pretty much like robbed him of something. The Kingpin and all these other criminals should not have. And there was this moment when he's in there talking with Kate at the end, and it's just like the way the conversation is like went. Which I kind of hope. Obviously, Hawkeye Clint is like the mentor to Kate, and they had this kind of like kind of similar to like Batman and Batgirl with his mentor mentee kind of relationship. But given like the way this comic ends, this particular issue ends, she comes across where she's like, she, or they kind of, give each other shit, but she comes off, you know, it's like subtle like feelings that's more so beyond, uh, like a, you know, teacher and student kind of vibe. Even though she's of age, obviously, she's like, I think she's actually like pretty much like 18 or just slightly above 18, but I think she still referred to herself as like a teen, but she's obviously like, I think it was referred to her age at some point through this run, but definitely over 18. Somewhere between, let's say like somewhere between like 18 and 20. Uh, so then you see like Hawkeye like crossing out, like he got like a little map going on with like how like you see like on CSI or any other crime detective kind of shows, you got like this big old map and like strings and pictures and news clippings and stuff like that over all over the place. And you it's just like his call is his to-do list. It's like certain people he want, like bad guys he want to take down. Yeah, so he managed to like bust it up like this little you know crime organization get together. Okay, issue number 3. Okay, I think this, you see that trailer when they, like towards the end when she's, Kate is firing off a explosive arrow and she makes some kind of comment, you got any better arrows? Beginning of this issue is kind of like him, telling her about like, because, well, not even just the beginning of the issue, all throughout this particular issue, while they on this little kind of cars chase, you see like going over all these, hold on a second. Ooh, sorry. You see like all these different type of arrows, and like you saw like a little x-ray of their inner workings. You got like an acid arrow, this little glass vial in the head of the arrow of this bow, and then you got like a bolo arrow, not grapple, but explosive arrow. How'd you say acid arrow? But all these different net arrow. That's another thing. And uh you know just like it, Clint, obviously like shows, because you don't usually see it in most other comics with him in it, is the fact that how he, on his downtime, put this stuff together, and like the inner workings and everything like that is intricate. And it's, I won't say methodical, but it's pretty much like it actually, takes some uh some bit of ingenuity on his part to get it all together, and like know how, know which one he's pulling out of the quiver. And as I recall, I don't know if it was in like the, because I think you see it in the first Avengers movie when he's pulling out an arrow. There's like this operated thing in the quiver where it loads up a particular tip to put onto the arrow itself. I don't know how like the specific inner workings of how that mechanism operates to know, like, I guess it may requires a particular finger movement to automatically insert a particular arrow tip. But you get to see that here, which I think is pretty cool that you don't get to see that often. But in this issue, Clint meets up with his redhead. I forgot the redhead's name. I think you don't get into like towards the end of the issue. But she's selling this, what's this Dodge Challenger, this red Dodge Challenger, and like he ends up hooking up with her, not realizing she was in a way affiliated to this tracksuit mafia people. They come in, bust down the door. Don't know how they found them, but Clint butt ass naked after moment like an afternoon of coitus, sitting there dodging bullets like a beast, and like just doesn't have his typical weapon with him, so he's throwing like a lamp, because he's Hawkeye. He can throw. He doesn't have to use a bow and arrow. He's just very accurate with whatever he's wielding. So you throw a lamp, knock somebody in the freaking face dead on, and like just beating people up like in stark naked, and like but he eventually gets caught off guard by the butt of a gun and gets knocked out. Calls Kate to as to come pick him up while he's getting dressed to go follow these people. He wasn't knocked out for long. He recovers pretty quick, for just a regular dude. And it's a weird thing. It's like one of the drivers, the tracksuit mafia drivers, he's wearing like a speed racer type of helmet. I don't know why he's wearing like a speed racer helmet, but it's funny because I call it a speed racer, and then you got like Kate rolling in with her purple Herbie Love Bug looking car, and you see some like dressing inside the car, and just like she's just sitting like, and she's like, go 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 go, and she just looking at him like just like pulling down her little shades, and she looks good with shades, by the way, but it was like she was staring like looking at him like what are you doing? It's like, really, with the abs and the like, drive, god damn it, you. And it's like they got that kind of relationship, like they give each other shit, and I love that freaking relationship. Like you tell like people always love about like Batman and Robin, talking about like that kind of dynamic duo. This is like a very good. After the show comes out, I'm pretty sure Hawkeye, and there's gonna be a lot of Hawkeye and Kate Bishop comics rolling in with these two just bantering back and forth. Just a fun dynamic between these two, and they sitting there, of course, driving off, trying to play catch up with a Dodge Challenger, but they managed to like, cut them off and ram them down, and then Kate's giving him like, I was like, they end up, taking the red car, where they have that redheaded woman, bound and gagged in the back. So they're using this, Dodge Challenger to try to get away. So they shooting like putty arrows, sonic arrows, it's like, missing, here and there, because the way Kate's driving is like trying to outrun them and trying to shoot at the same time. Even though Clint shouldn't have mattered. At least we know what we know about Hawkeye. It should not freaking matter if he's in like a moving vehicle. He should be able to like shoot dead on, given the fact that we how skilled he is as a marksman, and like he's like shooting a sonic arrow and miss the car altogether and zips right by one of the shooters' face. So this is where you get the explosive arrow, which is kind of like a callback to like, well, I think like the trailer is calling back to this particular panel where the explosive arrow is being shot and like destroys a car following them, which is like a cool shot. Then they own like one of the bridges of New York. Don't know, it was like a. The only thing I always come to mind is Brooklyn Bridge, so I'm just gonna call it the Brooklyn Bridge, even though I could be wrong. They end up all crashing, and then like one of the tracksuit dudes got Kate at gunpoint, and she got him at well, he got her at gunpoint with like a Mac 10 kind of gun, and another gun pointed at Clint, who's kind of like was slightly incapacitated after the car wreck, and he's like coming to, and he's got a gun to his head, and a gun to Kate, and Kate has a bow and arrow pointing at this dude. So it's like it's kind of like a Mexican standoff at this point. And of course, this is like a callback joke because earlier in the issue, Kate dismisses the concept of a boomerang arrow, and Clint's like, no, like we always count on a boomerang arrow because it always come back to you. And she mentions like earlier, it's like, why would you want an arrow to come right back to you? It makes no sense until she, at this moment, utilizes this particular boomerang arrow, which he didn't realize it is a boomerang arrow until she, well, it doesn't seem like she realizes it's like a boomerang arrow, and when she fires it, it comes right back and gets the mafia dude in the back of the head and knocked him out. And of course, Clint get this redheaded woman to the airport so she can get out of town and be safe. So, that's the end of that issue. There's nice little short adventures here and there, but they all kind of like culminate together. Okay, this is like a two-parter here, where you get a little cameos from Shield agents like Maria Hill, Nick Fury, and Captain America. And the tape is, it turns out to be like a tape of Hawkeye apparently killing a man, and it's assumed, well, at least if it leaks, it'll be assumed that Shield utilize an Avenger member as a assassination hit squad kind of situation, which would not look good internationally on their part, since they're our U.S. based particular military force or spy agency. So Clinton goes on this clandestine adventure. Oh, I just want to make sure, like I mentioned, like this is the Matt Fraction is written in, but like the art here, by Puli, I don't know, like it was like Pulido, and Hollingsworth. I just want to give them their flowers on this because the art in this is pretty damn good. I want to say, would you call it simplistic? Because like that's the only word I can get out to describe, because it's not something that like, unlike like photorealism type of comics like you see in like certain graphic novels. This one's is pretty distinct. It's like the type of pencil work here is like pretty damn good, and it's kind of like blends great with the art. So it's like with the colors, I should say. So yeah, it's it's pretty damn good. The art in this is like I love it. I love looking at this kind of stuff. You get certain close-ups shots of faces here, like with Cap and like Maria Hill and Hawkeye. You can see like the blue eyes of Cap very distinctly, and like the jawline. It's kind of like Kirby-esque, given like certain panel shots. You can feel a little bit of Kirby in like the jaw structure a little bit, and certain got Cap hand like up, it's just like if you read any Kirby kind of comics, Marvel comics before, it's certain details of like the facial structure or hands or like certain just certain drawings kind of reminiscent of that. That's why I probably like it so much. So Clint is on is trying to find this tape so he can get it before it gets out. And apparently, it's going to be auctioned off in Madripoor. If you watch the uh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show, you know that the Madripoor is like a island, or at least, I don't know, it's like massive, but it's this big island, pretty much run by criminals as a whole. It's kind of like a criminal island. There's no extradition. There's no laws of whatsoever. It kind of fluctuates, and only like a handful of, well, I think like most heroes go here when it comes to like trying to find somebody, or make some kind of dealings to later find another person. But like every time I read certain comics with Madripoor involved, it's usually like with Punisher, any kind of like Shield agent, Wolverine, and like Hawkeye in this particular occasion. So it's like usually kind of particular heroes that has no qualms of like getting like in the thick of it, in that way. And like you don't see, like, you would not saying can happen, but you would never see like someone like Spider-Man in this particular situation. But what was I about to say? In my review of The Invisible Woman, and talking about like art, that like is a perfect example of like kind of photorealism kind of art compared to this one. It's a little more Kirby-esque. That one, you have an Invisible Woman go to Madripoor for a bit on her little spy mission. Check out that video if you want to know about that particular review. That one's great, by the way. But yeah, he runs into well, as soon as he lands, he's already dealing with like, because crime is like everywhere. There's no laws. People just, if he's in like a cab and he's supposed to get to this hotel, as soon as it peels off, he's already getting like mugged. He's sleep. He's jet lag. He's taking a nap, and the taxi driver's trying to rob him, and like he's stopping him, and then somebody's coming, trying to bust into the taxi, trying to take his. Everybody's just jumping in, trying to like take Clint's wallet, and he's got like a black card given by Maria Hill that's kind of like unlimited spending, and it's like and he got his own ID and Avengers ID card and all this other stuff, and he's sitting like beating up a bunch of people trying to come in his doggone cab, and like somebody eventually makes off with his wallet, but the only thing he has left is the Avengers credit card, black card, that was given to him for spending. So that was just like a funny moment. So he takes the cab, and like he's it's a funny moment where he's like just because he doesn't know his way around, so he's kind of driving around, and he's in the middle of end up stopping to give people a ride and stuff like that, and it's just like he's getting extra gas at the same time, but he's driving around till he get to his particular location, and he's finally get to this hotel casino place called the Madripoor Pearl. 3,000 luxury hotel room, a 2-kilometer exhibit hall, a 1.5-kilometer mall with all major stores and luxury boutiques, an indoor amusement park for all ages. Why would it be for all ages? Only adults living in this particular island, but whatever. 4 live concert venues, 10 Koboleski star rated restaurants, and the world's largest and most decent casino overlooking Madripoor Bay from 200 miles above. So he's trying to gamble until like he's spotted and bound, with a hood, and he's seen again like mollywopped by Madame Mass's goons. Madame Mass is in here. I want to eventually cover Kate Bishop Hawkeye run right after. It'll be the next thing, next comic book review I'll be doing after this, because I want to get all the Hawkeye stuff out the way before the TV show runs. And uh she he's he's telling her like, I'm here for the tape, since it's Magic Four, I can like put my bid in too. But he decided to cut a deal so he won't get killed. And she texts the black card just to verify and everything like that. And like, it's like a funny moment where it's like he's taken to this room. He's still bound to this chair. And they won't even bother to let him out so he can just lay and chill in the bedroom. So they toss him on top of the bed, still tied to the chair. And he's sitting there like, when I get out of here, you guys are in big trouble. And then it's like a panel later, he's knocked out. Like, he's just like out. He's just, and then like, you see like ninjas start to come in. So, and like this gallery who's trying to get this auction going, you get to see I don't know who this character is, like Agents Byzantine kind of, I guess, foot soldier. I don't know. I've never seen this kind of guy. He's like with a red hood with a black dot on his forehead. A Magia leader to that particular gang. Wilson Fisk. I think this might be the Mandarin, but they don't call him the Mandarin here, but it's obviously the Mandarin. The Crimson Cow. You got Madam Hydra, who's trying to yell like "Hell Hydra," and she can't get the whole thing out before she gets cut off by the auctioneer. You got Madam Mask, and she just write out like 1 billion, utilizing the black card to like outbid everybody because it's unlimited. And then it turns out when she's in her room, is Kate Bishop, who got Madam Mask bound and gagged, tied up in the closet, and she got the tape in hand. In part 2, she get to see like, because she doesn't know, nobody tells her, especially Clint, refused to tell her what's on the tape, because for all intents and purposes in their part 1, she was told by him like like, because she asked, did he earlier in the issue of part 1, she asked him, have you ever killed anybody? And he's like, no, and then never killed anybody. And then she watches the tape and it sees like Clint shooting 2 arrows down the eye holes of a particular person, effectively just assassinating him outright, and the tape just caught that immediately, which kind of shocked her. And Clint waking up, right in time before like one of the ninjas try to cut him down with a samurai sword. And he's sitting there like doing all he can to just like break free. And then he ended up getting, he ended up getting, not by purpose, but he's not by accident, but he just, I don't know, his purpose or accident, whatever. He gets, pushed out the window, which hotel rooms are known to have like kind of thick windows. So, it prevents people to getting like pushed out, the kind of thing. I mean, maybe not all hotels, but I think that's kind of like a thing I heard, a long time ago, where it's like prevents people to just immediately get pushed out or something like that, or something happened to them. It's not like bulletproof glass, but it's kind of thick. But he's getting knocked out of the building. At the same time, while that is going on, Kate had to put on her Madame Mask outfit, and then when the goons come flying in after a disturbance with Hawkeye, she they find as they search in the room, they find like the real Madame Mask tied up, and then they're looking at Kate, and like as they Kate's backing up towards the window, Clint is already falling down, in the middle of that, and getting saved by Maria Hill on like some kind of flying scooter thing. And like it's like a decent moment when he's like, as like a lot of the other ninjas are falling off, one's holding on to Clint, Clint's leg, and Clint tempted to just kick him off outright, but it's like, I'm not like, I don't want to be an ass on this situation. Like he's trying to get his like, here, give me your hand, let me help you up. And it's like, never. And he just let go and just falls to his death. And it's like, son of a bitch. And then Madam Mass is just like, furious at the fact that like this kid just got the drop on her like that. So she's feeling embarrassed, threatened to put, because she goes over this little story how like she asked Kate like, do you smoke? Like, no. And she was like, good, never smoke. I used to smoke. I ended up quitting. I hate that, I had to quit, but it was better for my health. And like after this situation, you're making me want a cigarette right now. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to buy a pack and I'm going to light it up and I'm going to put it out on your pretty little face. Which kind of gives like a shun, like not a shun, but like stunned look on Kate's eyes. You get like a close-up shot and you can see like she got like a little sky blue kind of eyes as she's like staring at Madame Mask. And he is, as she's talking with Wilson Fisk in a gallery with the other villains. You get like on the outside of the window, you see like Maria Hill hovering outside the window with Clint aiming an arrow at the glass, breaking it with this like sonic type of like a sonic flash type of thing. I don't know, because it's not only blinding, but it's some kind of shriek, like a that is kind of like stuns everybody. And then as soon as he's hopping inside, is because at a moment dealing with those ninjas, one of his shoes falls off. It's very kind of reminiscent to like Die Hard when he's like hopping in, he forgets he has only one shoe on, so he's hopping on top of his glass, and it's like his foot getting a little bit cut up, and he's sitting there like still like he's hopping on one foot, and I'm realizing, and Kay has to help him like ow 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 ow, ow. And it's just funny moments, and it's like, God, I love this character, and this and they're sitting there trying to hightail out of here, and then they have to run back. It's like they can still, Madam Man still got the tape, damn it, and they running back, fighting all these goons that was chasing them, and then just beat them up and everything like that. And they run back to Madam Mask's hotel room, get the tape back, and as they about to enter the elevator, Madam Mask is chasing them down, and as they turn, you get this little slow motion shot as like as the bullet is being fired. Clint gets one in the chest as the door closes, and it turns out he has a bulletproof vest on, so but it still hurts like a bitch apparently. Then she'll care as like Fury and Murray Hill go over to Kate that it was kind of fabricated in a way, cause by their own hand. They got like a tape with like Wolverine and Cap and Hawkeye, which is kind of like a fraud type of tapes to find like a particular mole, and to help them, like, because it kind of like she kind of a little miffed because she wasn't like she really thought her closest friend and mentor just outright just murdered somebody on the behest of Shield, no less. Because it's not like she see Clint as like pure or anything like that, but she doesn't want to think that he just like will just flat out murder somebody on a whim with like no care in the world. Because the Clint's a lot of things, but he's not like an like an outright psycho murderer. But it's like fraudulent tapes was like made for like like Wolverine, Cap, and Hawkeye, and they're just trying to use it as bait to find a particular mole, which they eventually do. So that was just like a fun little adventure to Madripoor. So this is like it's just a cool like kind of like Shield mixed with Hawkeye type of an adventure. Okay, now we back to New York, and this is like a Christmas type of issue where you get to see like him hanging out with Tony Stark for a little bit, whereas like they're trying to set up. Well, he's kind of like moving into the apartment at this point that he ended up buying off because he's the landlord now, and like he's setting everything up where this little because he want to watch this TV show, this like kind of famous TV show, Dog Cops or something like that, and uh, Tony offered like, hey, look, because it's like if you ever dealt with like Christmas lights when you got all this tangled up lights, it's kind of similar to this one. Got all these wires and everything to this DVD player or something like that, and like it's kind of like this kind of like a media station thing, and they're both struggling trying to get all this crap untangled and set up. He called Tony here to do this because he felt like, oh, you're a tech guy, you know how to set all this up, help me deal with this. And Tony's like, look, I'm not unraveling none of this mess. If we just toss this out, I'll buy you a whole new kind of setup here. Like, consider this a Christmas gift, don't worry about it. And Clint kind of barks at him and was like, no, I don't want you to sit there just buying this for me. I want to set up myself. This is my stuff, and like I'm moving in. Like, it's kind of like he has pride, because like you deal with certain characters that all have this little pride about them. It's like, I don't want to deal with no help. I don't want to. I don't want no extra handouts and blah blah blah. I get certain people like that, but it's just like at a certain point, it's kind of like a cliche in a way. It's like you got a rich billionaire friend who's offering you to buy. Not only that, it's a Christmas gift. You accept Christmas gifts, don't you? It's like you get to have like a nice little setup on somebody else's dime, and like if I'm friends with Robert Downey Jr. and he's offering to buy me like a new like a setup, for like a living room setup for like this media type of stuff, like DVD players and all this little stuff, I'm gonna let him. Like, it's a Christmas gift, all the better. It's like it's something I can remember for years, for years, and like it's like a whole thing with him. But you can see like earlier, because it's kind of like his R&R time, but you can see like like days earlier, he's fighting AIM agents in New York with Wolverine and Spider-Man, and like Hawkeye is like kind of like exhausted after the whole event, while Spider-Man and Wolverine, who are super powered, who has like more endurance, better endurance than compared to Clint. So I'm pretty sure they are exhausted, but to a lesser degree by comparison to Clint, who's like pretty much killed over. Sound like, oh God, like I think my cousins have concussions kind of situation. And Spider-Man suggested like, dude, maybe you take some holiday time, get some R&R, recuperate, just. And then they go off about like Dog Cops. It's like, you're like, oh, did you catch the finale of Dog Cops? And it's like, and Wolverine's like, oh yeah, I like that. Like, no, spoiler. It's funny. Like, even superheroes can do that to each other. Like, don't spoil that for me. And so, and you get to see like Simone and her kids like coming in Clint's room because I guess like because that a particular fight Clint will eventually have in this issue, an arrow gets lodged into a dish that's connected to Simone's place, so her kids can't watch Christmas shows because of that. And this dude who's supposed to fix it doesn't want to go out in a which is supposed to be his job, doesn't want to go out on the fire escape and go to the roof to or not the roof, but just a fire escape that's connected, that's near her apartment, to go fix the dish, because apparently there's an arrow lodged in it, and he doesn't want to deal with that, and it's snowing, and this is this flat slob look like Bob Hoskins from the Mario movie. Doesn't want to deal with that, so Clint is like, fine, I'm no landlord, I'll handle it. considering the fact that it's my role, I figure it's my responsibility anyway, so I'll deal with it. So like, yeah, the tracksuit people, like, it's freaking Christmas, and the tracksuit people, just trying to like, uh you know, trying to like, muzzle in, on the tenants, like they downstairs with bats and everything like that. And Clint is getting like, coming down with his bow and arrow. I think it's only like a handful of guys, but then lo and behold, here comes a couple of vans full of these dudes with bats, and like, Clint is, while he's like, getting dog pile, like, he accidentally fires off the arrow and it lands on the dish, and he's getting like bound to gag and dragged to this room, a secret little warehouse, where you see like that, crusty old man with a white tracksuit, who's running this like kind of organization, uh, explaining about the whole situation with the woman, the redhead, and Ivan, and it's like, you're causing problems, like, pretty much telling like, leave or die situation. And uh eventually Kate shows up, and like, Clint kind of, bites her head off, after the whole situation, as he sees him like packing up his stuff, and like, he's trying to hand her his one of his old bows, uh figuring like he's doing more harm than good kind of situation, because like he doesn't want nothing to happen to the tenants because of his interference. But then uh it's just an awesome one where, he decides, no, I'm gonna stand my ground and stay and protect these people. And it's like he's outside with his like old bow, and they stand out there just like, kind of like, I know it's kind of like Elena's line, poser, which I kind of hope this, like, obviously he's gonna be in this TV show dealing with Hawkeye after the events of the Black Widow movie. But he's, seeing like, one of the mafia guys in the vans doing like a gun gesture of shooting, aiming at him, and like Clint just like unfazed with his like old bow and just like ready to like, square up. And then at the end of the issue, you get one of the kids. I didn't even notice this. And one of the kids is dressed up in like a Charlie Brown type of. I think his name actually is Charlie. At least one of the kids' name is Charlie. It should be him, because considering the fact he's wearing like a Charlie Brown type of shirt, or like, like a long sleeve kind of sweater, I guess. And like he's, offering, considering that their disc is messed up, and he has this little thing set up in his room. He's offering to have Simone and her kids watch Christmas shows in his place, and he's outside just watching the area, because he decided he's gonna stay and just be their protector. Like, and someone asks like, do you need to go somewhere, or do you have somewhere to be? And Clint was like, nope, and he just stands out there, and I was like, I'm not going anywhere. So it was like an awesome little Christmas type of issue. Issue number 7, where you're dealing with it's kind of like this issue and the next one is kind of like, this issue is with Clint, and next issue is with Kate, both dealing with a situation with a flood situation. It's kind of ironic considering that New York just recently had like a massive like flood situation. Glad they're okay, and anybody who's from New York that's watching this, I hope everything's okay considering, with all things considering. But apparently this is like, I guess Best Eyes in Brooklyn. October 29th, when there's dealing with like a flash flood warning, and like one of Clint's tenant friends, what do you call him? It's kind of like he called him Hawkeye instead of Hawkeye, but it's kind of like a ongoing joke. And his name is Grills, but later on, Clint. And I really, I think it was like issues later when Clint finds out his real name. His real name is actually Gil, short for short from something else. But is Gil. Oh, I just bumped into my mic. Is actually Gil, but his tenant friends call him Grills. Confusing as hell, I know. But he asked Clint to help him, uh, with his father, who's I don't know, he lives in like Jersey, I think. No, far Rockaway. No, no, no. That's a they talking about a song. I think it's in. I think it's in. Yeah. I think it's in Jersey. But anyway, uh, he's telling Clint on the ride over, that him and his father had like you know, not bad blood, but it's kind of like after his mom died, uh, things became strained between the two. So when they go to the father's place, they're moving stuff out of the basement to secure them, trying to like, because his father's still like sitting in his chair, trying to like drink and everything like that. And then, Clint, went outside and noticed like this big massive flood coming in, and like he's rushing everybody, the men upstairs, and then uh he notices like he's checking. Clint runs back down, notices his car is being washed away because it's that bad. And then he comes back in. And he realizes like Gil's in the basement trying to secure his mother's final stuff because like it's the last that's the last stuff he has of her to remember her by. And he's agitated with his father because he didn't bother to get up to move this stuff earlier in the day before they came over. And we've all probably been there with relatives that act like that. And then uh you get this little tender moment between uh uh his father's. He's telling like he's feeling bad because like I couldn't save all of mom's stuff, and it's like like it's okay, son. And then they share this big hug. And then the old man saying like I got this old boat, it's in the attic, stored away. So they use it to like you know do like a boat, like old school boat ride with like paddles and everything, rowing you know out of the danger. And this is when like Clint asks about his real name because he's worried. Earlier he was worried that his friend's going to drown. He doesn't even know the man's own name. He calling him by this fake nickname, and he's going over like, yeah, my name was actually Gil, short for Gilbert. Uh, so it was like it's is people call him Grills. It's supposed to be short for it's actually Gil he goes by, but his parents call him Gilbert. So it's like a longer route, confusing way with the nicknames. Yeah, it is Jersey. Uh, then it's actually not in, like a two-part thing, but it's a two-part in this issue. I thought it was in the next issue. I'm blanking. It's 22 issues. This is like probably the longest one I covered so far. But after the situation with Hawkeye, what he's dealing with on things on his end, dealing with this kind of flood situation, Kate is at his kind of like party, uh, and she's is like his party is in this big in this hotel. It's kind of fancy dancy party. You know, it turns out like Kate is actually secretly rich, but not like crazy. Probably it could be fair to say that she's like probably nearly on the level of like Daniel Rand as far as like secretly rich, but she doesn't trade on that kind of situation. She has the whole situation with her parents which we'll get into once we cover her issue run next comic book review. But given the fact that like this hotel manager is telling her like, don't worry, we're safe in here. This hotel survived, you know, uh, uh, the Great Atlantic Hurricane, Ash Wednesday storm, Hurricane Gloria, the Halloween nor'easter flood, and it's something like, oh, it's built like a fortress. Don't worry about it. And lo and behold, the power goes out. Transformers like it just got hit with the flood, and she gave the man shit. It's like when I read that part, it's like, okay, you happen to be right, but don't be an ass to him about it, because given the fact that the list of things that this hotel did manage to get through, where people probably thought it was going to be the end of it, it would not be too beyond, like, to his point of view, it wouldn't be a stretch for him to assume that they will make it through this safely, given the fact that they're safe in this fortress built like hotel. And it's like, just because it happened to, like, maybe because maybe not going to say the foundations, but maybe because so many years, I don't know how many renovations they've gone through, but if there barely has been renovations since all those particular floods or other stuff, phenomena, maybe he should have, make sure that the structure and foundation was like up to code and everything like that. So anything else comes about in the future, it can better withstand it. But given the fact that, powering out and stuff like that, and like the parking garage area is starting to flood, she gave him shit about it. And it's like, I was kind of resisting on that. Like, come on, Kate, don't give him shit, and like she treated him like a wormy little dude, and it's like it was a little unfair. That's all I'm saying. She goes down to get her bow and arrow out of her car. She's swimming through like stuff, and I like in this particular panel, I love this here where she mentions, you see, like, because she mentions like the movies where you see people like jumping into like the water and like they don't have any kind of goggles or anything like that, and they manage to see where they're going and swim and everything like that. She misses here, because that's why I don't swim. I don't like, I don't swim. I don't like going in the water. But the rare moments when I did, and I tried to like open my eyes to see under the water, like you see in like the movies or TV shows, she mentions here is kind of like foggy and it stings your eyes, and it's like, yeah, it does. I understand that, and it's like, I like that. It's like it's annoying. I know it's movie stuff, and it's like you don't need to be completely factual on every little scientific level, but I like it here where it's like reference, like, yeah, it sucks. It doesn't realistically work, and like some people didn't just swim with their eyes open without any kind of goggles, and it's kind of BS. But she gets her bow and arrow. She trying to help one of the hotel guests who needs medication, and she doesn't have enough of it because she didn't expect. Well, she said she didn't expect to be gone that long, so she didn't carry that much of her medication, just enough to get her through the night so she can. But it'll last until the moment she gets back home. And I'm thinking to myself, like, didn't it supposed to be like some kind of flash flood warning or like a weather warning, some kind of thing? And it's like nobody's about to prepare for it, and everybody's still going about their business, like going to these fancy dancy party, and it wasn't shut down for safety reasons or concern for the general public, and everybody's still doing their thing. It's freaking bizarre. And it's like, you think of real world situation when it's like a massive flood, or like even with I was about to use the New York situation as an example, but I'm pretty sure they would have had some kind of like flood warnings, but maybe not to that kind of scale, because that's not something they would expect in their in that particular situation, because it's like a coastal thing. You expect that from like Florida and other southern parts of like the U.S., like Louisiana and stuff like that. But even then, you would get some kind of warning so that way people can, barricade themselves in particular safe houses or wherever to brace themselves from like this kind of flood situation. But you get people still going to this massive party, and it's like you still going to this party, and it's no indication of like kind of warning. It's like I'm going to stay home kind of situation. Like I would have like dealing with a flood and it's like pouring rain and you seen like certain little floods popping up here and there, and it's like I'm staying the freak home, or going somewhere safe until this is like done. But she's going to this like pharmacy where like it's daytime now. It was just night, but it's daytime now, and like it's I guess early morning, and she's like going to this pharmacy where it's like broken into, and it's like she's trying to, and like she's seeing these people like taking advantage of the situation, and it's Jersey. She's going all the way to freaking Jersey, and she was like, what, in, I'm assuming maybe Manhattan or something like that. But these three group of punks trying to rob this pharmacy, these like opportunists, and like she's trying to stop them, but then she didn't know there was an extra guy and come behind him and knock her out with a can of beans. And like she's coming to, and then she's worried about because they took her bow and arrow for God's sake. But luckily she go out there and she see like some Jersey residents, got them held up, by like all this like lawn equipment, shovels, and like these pruning shears and all this other stuff. And like she's praising like Jersey, like yeah, right on. It's like commenting on how like New York is really stick together in times of crisis, throughout like a bunch of like BS. She gets to she meets up with Hawkeye at his place, and he's coming back from they've gone through this flood situation from two different points, and they're like just tired and exhausted, while like a lot of city officials like emergency like officials dealing with like the aftermath and helping residents, and then they're just coming home. It's like okay, it's like okay, you can crash here. It's like, well, I'm taking the bed. I'm your guest and the girl in this situation. And like he didn't bother arguing. He was like, okay, Hawkeye, you got it, Hawkeye, because they like to call each other Hawkeye, just like a joke. So it's like a nice little short, just like a one-off adventure on each other's parts, dealing with a similar situation. Okay. Issue number 8, and you're dealing with the redhead again. Apparently she's back in town after shooting her, I guess, former husband, but I guess like a bad relationship, that's part of the tracksuit mafia, who also happens to be the son of the old guy leader. So she's running back to New York to Clint for protection. And you get like cameos from Black Widow, Bobby. She was on. Crap. She was in like a short during the point where Spider-Man in a short issue run, not short, but just during the time when he was running his own company after the events of his body being taken over by Doc Ock. And she was in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Bobby something. She's a roughly famous S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Bobby something. I can't remember the last name. But then you also got Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman here. And like they all apparently had some type of relationship with Clint. Jessica Drew being the last, which I did not know this when reading this. because I think at this time I don't think Drew had her kid, because he's famously known to like always looking after her child and stuff like that. Uh, uh, because he actually was married at one time to Bobby. The others he just had like relationships with, and they looking at this redheaded woman who coming to the Avengers mansion where he's like at asking for his help, and of course they all looking at this woman like very strangely, especially Black Widow, and she needs him to help break into this like strip club area to steal an item from the safe, something that she needs to help get out of here. But she got the drop on. Well, the old man got the drop on her. While like this commotion is going on, dude spit in her fucking face twice, because he's pissed that like she murdered his son, and then he's still going on with this whole bro thing. I know it's a joke, but man, it's like they're not kind to Russian people in this issue, at least in this particular run. And Clint eventually like knocks him out. Because I guess he needs like eventually he needs money to get out of the help sustain her while she's on the run. But then of course Clint gets arrested and then bailed out. Of course, like he gets like crap from a lot of the Avengers, like Cap and Black Widow, for getting arrested and doing what he did. She was looking for these particular comics. That was in the safe. She writes her little romance, I guess, stuff, and the way there's like 20 of them, and she's put it in like a particular sequence to a number to a particular safe, so she can remember it later, so she can gain access to it. Of course, Clinton doesn't know that yet. And that's where you get this issue is when we get like this group of famous criminals throughout Marvel universe. Kingpin, Owlsley, Mr. Negative, all these guys, kind of realize, okay, we need to deal with this Hawkeye situation. This is like the third or fourth time, I'm pretty sure it's third time, him interrupting their business, and they have to just deal with that problem outright. So the old man sitting there asking or requesting and begging them, pretty much like, allow me to handle it. Is he was muscling on my stuff first. I want to take this dude down, and like he's offering piece of business or whatever he has to, because he's like angry because his son's killed by this woman and she's associated with Hawkeye. Hawkeye is interfering in him. It's all kind of spirals. So he they was like, okay, he's looking at it like, okay, all right, okay, do y'all agree? Well, I'll let you do it. I don't have a problem with it. Fine, as long as you divvy up what you promise. And then like Mr. Negative agrees. Silvermane, Mr. Negative, Silvermane, Typhoon Mary, he's in this. She agrees. Hammerhead agrees. It's like, fine, you got our go ahead. Just don't fail. Ooh, there's a lot. And da, 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 da. This one is like more personal. It's kind of like you know, with Bobby and Black Widow and Jessica Drew stepping in this particular one with Kate, who they believe that this redhead is more trouble to Clint than it's worth. And and of course they beat up a few tracksuit mafia guys who still like lurking Hawkeye's apartment. And then of course Jessica, she comes over and smacks the hell out of Clint, who's just waking up after answering the freaking door. And it's like so shit, but not only for the whole situation with their falling out because he was sleeping around, but the fact that he getting arrested with causing this big ruckus in the strip club, which is making press that's not looking good on their part, and she keeps slapping him. And of course, she's still kind of like it's kind of like still her feelings bubbling up. And like she, Clint just blocks her head because like he's like, please don't slap me no more. Like I understand you mad, like but I can't allow it to be hit anymore. And then of course like she's just so mad, like you're a bad person, Barton. And she warned Kate like, don't stay around with this dude because he'll drag you down. Of course, Kate's not here, and she, still believes in Hawkeye. Yeah, it's like, because she's trying to come to get there before they do to warn them that they're coming, but they got there before her. So Clint's just kind of down on himself because like he's trying to do the right thing. It's typical for a lot of superhero comics. It's like a lot of superheroes trying to do the right thing, but it causes more problems, or at least it gets more out of hand than he initially wanted to. It's supposed to be like a simple deal with these guys. They back off. Like, I can handle the money, leave people alone, like just go away. But then not realizing they're part of this massive organization with like Wilson Fisk of all people, despite them being like small time, they're still part of the time. And now there's this woman coming into the mix that he didn't know. He had no clue that it was like she was any part of this until they busted in his apartment after having sex with her. And it's like, and Jessica's giving him crap, like I said, still have hurt feelings. And because I guess he was sleeping around when they were supposed to be a thing or something like that. I'm not sure what the full context of that relationship was. I didn't even know he was hooking up. I knew he had a relationship with Black Widow at one point in the comics, but I didn't know he had a thing with Bobby and then Jessica Drew. I did not know that, but given the fact that okay, you're obviously not in a relationship with him anymore, why you're like so that level of angry, the fact that okay, he's not with you anymore, so what he does on his own time, because he's single by and large, so him sleeping with a redhead who just happened to be mixed up with something, you should be more, yeah, obviously they're concerned about this woman given the fact that who she's mixed with and what she led Clint into doing. But being that level of anger, at least using that as an excuse to take your anger out on him, uh, is just like weird. So Clinton just beating himself up because like he doesn't feel like he's a good person despite Kate trying to give him a pep talk. He goes up to the roof and like had like a little talk with Gil. Uh, 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 so he like telling Gil pretty much about how like yeah, I heard this person like I still kind of care about her and everything like that, and like Gil's like, did you tell her or you just told me? And he's like, you should go ahead and tell her that. And then of course Clint just walks off after like it's having like a decent talk with Gil. Then all of a sudden, a mysterious guy with a gun with a silencer shows up, and shoots Gil in the head. So that was like when I read that, that was like that kind of brought me down. It's like, dang, I like Gil. It's like, dang, it's like that was like out of nowhere kind of situation. And that was like, ooh, that was tough. After the whole situation with like the whole situation about his mother and everything like that, which is like shows a mark of a good writer, where like even after just a few issues of just piling around or even going through the shit with the flood, it's like, and just get to know a person like that, and given what you hear about his situation about his mother and his rough relationship with his father and he's just being patched up, and just to end like that is just like, that was tough, man. Okay, like then you got issue 10. We get to know who this hitman is, and Kate ended up running into this dude, and he doesn't know who the kind of guy he is, but he's kind of like one of those kind of. It's kind of like those like, you ever seen like the Kirsten Bell movies American Psycho? You kind of like Patrick Bateman kind of situation where he's like this seemingly rich guy, but then like outside of that, doing like the like during his off hours, he is like a hired gun. He's just like he get this kind of like makeup on, kind of look like a mime dressed in like a white little overcoat, and it's like he just like without hesitation, he just murders a lot of people. He's pretty much like I won't say know nothing, but it's kind of like he's not like the level of infamous like Bullseye or something like that. And Kate's ended up meeting this dude while there was in some kind of like shindig, and like they flirt a little, and she ended up kisses him. But then as she's like heading back to, because the dude getting hired by the tracksuit dude to take out Hawkeye. As soon as he do surveillance, he sees like the girl he had a moment with going to this sad apartment and uh, shooting a bow and arrow with his target. And that's when he like I guess, I don't know, out of maybe frustration, possibly, and he went up to the roof and just shoots Gil. He just happened to be there, and he's like, just shoots him. So you get a little bit of like what kind of guy you're dealing with in this one. This one is probably my least favorite part of the run. This least favorite issue part of the run, because it's pretty much telling the story of what you're gonna be looking into in issue 12. But issue 12's story that we'll be talking about in a minute in this one, it's from the dog's perspective. So like it's fine, but it's like I just want to let you know it's like, you know, I'll get into what's going on in the next issue. I mean, what's going on in this issue, I will cover in issue 12 because this is just from the dog's perspective kind of situation and where the dog would end up with Kate as she's traveling to LA, who, you know, where in the her comic run we'll be going over her story, doing her adventures, because it's kind of like what, like, you know, her stuff that she's going through in the Mac Fraction run in this particular run, the way it ends, it will lead into what she will be doing in her adventures in the next run I'll do a review of. Yeah, but that's where like Lucky will end up with. Okay, now this is where we meet up with Clint's brother Barney Barton, and you get a little insight into Clint's childhood. Where, if you don't know the story, Clint has, or at least had, an abusive father. I think he had two, as a matter of fact, because his biological father hit his wife a lot. Clint, you know, always being the youngest one out of the two brothers, just called two brothers. He tries to defend her, even though he's small. He still gets ass kicked by his father, who's much larger. But because he's like a drunk too, there was like a car crash that his mother was in with the father. They both end up dying. But then it's not mentioned in this, but I just want to let you guys know, because I know a bit of the history, that the next adoptive father was, you know, just as abusive as their actual father. So like before he ended up in the running away with his brother in the circus, where he acquired his bow and arrow skills, he had like a very rough childhood, you know, dealing with two abusive fathers in a row. His brother, after so many years, I guess, like been like slumming it on the streets throughout this time, getting, offering people to, or at least this Tracksuit Mafia as he run into, like, you know, beat me, you can beat me up, or at least hit me for $5 kind of situation. But then they shortchanged them, or not, or at least not pay him at all. But then you get to see, like, you know, him, teaching his brother how to fight, and you can see, like, you know, they grow up to be good fighters in their own right. And like the next time he's running into these guys, and like, you know, they, you know, bring more guys, and it's like, yeah, we'll pay you X amount of money, like, you know, hey, what was it? They offer him like a roll of hundreds for 2 minutes of just jumping on him. And then they start like, okay, and they persist to beat him up, and like he, you know, blocks their next hit, and it's like, hey, your 2 minutes are up. And then realizing, like, you know, they're not gonna like stop even after, you know, the time was up. So he persists to like, okay, now it's my turn, and then beats all their asses, and then takes not only the roll of 100 that they was offering, but an extra 5 from the last time they, they made that offer but never paid up. And he's calling Clint to after all this time, like, hey, can you and you can see him falling into like the same alcohol. I won't say call it alcoholism, but he's drinking and stuff like that. He's obviously like, you know, kind of got like in a rough spot right now. And he's like just going. He's not like same like situation as their father, but he's drinking like his father at this point. But he's not like an ass. But he's calling his brothers like, hey man, and then they meet up. It's like, hey, haven't seen you in a while, and they hug, and it's like this issue where it's like you see like Hawkeye's upbringing, and which I'm pretty sure I'm not sure how many episodes in the next in the Hawkeye TV show. I'm pretty sure in one episode they'll talk about Hawkeye's upbringing, and they probably will have to maybe, I don't know about dealing with a brother, but I'm pretty sure they'll have to address his childhood, like maybe not in a flashback, but in like a discussion with Kate. Like, I had like an asshole father who beat me constantly, and my mother. So that's that. So that'll be a thing. I'm pretty sure it'll be discussed. But it's a nice little backdrop on Hawkeye's upbringing, what made him the man that he is today, throughout his troubles. And of course, you see a bit of him. There's another slight, I guess, coming from an Avengers type of mission. He's hanging with he's on an adventure with Black Widow and Jessica Drew. And after the adventure is over, Mockingbird, that's Bobby's name, like Shield agent name at least, Mockingbird. I was struggling trying to remember. I was hoping to. I don't like making a video talking about something and something skips my mind, and like by the time I remember it, the video is already over, and like I can't go back to it. But yeah, Mockingbird is her name, and like he's getting a call after he's getting patched up after that adventure. He's getting the call that Gil has been found murdered. So he's dealing with that, and like of course going to like the funeral services, and he's hugging him with Gil's father. So this is obviously affecting him. Yeah, he's having like nightmares and stuff like that. He eventually runs to her brother, and then he introduced the tennis on the roof to his brother and everything like that. And it's just like a moment of when you're dealing with like a loss like that, especially something so tragic and out of nowhere situation. So something like that. He's got his brother there who like nice to. I'm pretty sure it's nice to see him, and then you got I guess Gil's father's living there now, so because obviously he doesn't want to. You can't have someone like that who's like the last family member left. I'm not sure if like Gil had extended family, but maybe his father's the only one in the family that lives in New York, so he doesn't have any other family member to well, they did have a funeral. I don't think it was shown there was extended family, but it's by and large to say that, hey, that's the last person out of that 3-person family that's left. So he's staying there. Clint's, they're sharing like some companionship because like, they've been through a flood and everything like that. And it's like, obviously stay as long as you want kind of situation, Gil would want it that way. And like the tenants are meeting, the other Barton. And it's just like something that Clint obviously needed because he's obviously going through the situation with, Jessica and that adventure with like the redhead and the ordeal with that. Then now find out that one of his tenant friends has been murdered. So that's a thing. So it's all been weighed down on him. But given all of that, he still has some a like a close knit group of people that kind of like is there for them. Not only there for him, but there for the father too. So now we get a little here and there. You get throughout this run, you get a little adventures with Kate. She's in L.A. at this point, trying to start up like a PI firm herself, which we'll get further into in her run in the next comic book review. So she's like on a laptop setting up like a web like a her own little website and everything like that with Lucky in tow. She meets this couple, these two guys who were setting up their wedding, but the orchids that they wanted from this particular florist hasn't shown up. They're bugging. So Kate offered her services to be like their first, be her first clients. They go and find out. She goes to find out that the place has been ransacked and the orchids have been stolen, and like this is a whole little misadventure running in with this particular cop, and then this little weird old school 90s PI guy who pops up randomly at this convenience store she goes to, and offering her some advice about like PI work and everything like that, trying to keep her motivated because she runs through some particular roadblocks, and he's letting her know like, you're gonna come across these problems. You're not, and sometimes either you're gonna run into problems that's gonna be tough at first to figure out, and sometimes you don't even end up figuring it out. But that's the whole point. He gives her like vanilla folders and these little little cards things you can write down on and like stick to like cork boards and stuff like that. Those little note card things. And he tells her like not every case is going to be like solving the case of the stolen Maltese Falcon or something like that. You're going to deal with like little non-spectacular cases, but they all important in their own right. And like she has a run-in with this little snooty rich dude, I don't know what this guy's name is. I forgot his name. Ward Flint. She just strolls up to his house in Bel Air, and like try to like just get the orchids from him up front. But then she decided to go with plan B route and sneak in, which she should have done in the first place, in my opinion. But whatever, she's new at this. She never had to do like real detective work at first. But you would think she would have done a bit of research. But apparently she's not good with computers. She sneaks into Ward's greenhouse, try to steal back the orchids, but then get these bellhop goons for some reasons. Bellhop goons that Ward has. She's taking them on, but then got eventually got taken down and thrown out on her butt. And then just to finally get this dude who eventually was the reason why the floor area was like ransacked, and I'm pretty sure like they tried to burn it down and then beat up the florist. They had nothing on Ward. That's why she tried to went to the particular detective. He wasn't given. He did not turn out to be like her Jim Gordon in this. He's desperately trying to get her out of his hair throughout this entire. Anytime there's like a little adventure with Kate in L.A. that we see, he's pulling his hair out, dealing with her, antics. But in order to finally get him locked up in some fashion, She ends up on his bike trying to play chicken with this dude, and she gets clipped, but she walks away with a broken arm at least. And but she ends up taking a camera phone shot of the car and the license plate, but it was the only way to like get him off the street. But she managed to get the orchid for the couple. But then lo and behold, the reason that the guy was stealing these orchids in the first place, he was using stealing them for because they're kind of rare, and he was stealing them for the behest of Madame Mask, who uses the petals for her bath. So now she has she'll be dealing with Kate Bishop here and there, but especially she's the main antagonist in her run that we'll cover. So it's a nice little adventure, at least a little Kate issue particular adventure. We're a little over halfway done. In this particular issue, Clint is asking for some help from Black Widow about like the person who killed Gil, trying to figure out. And luckily, they meet her at this cafe, or at least this diner, I should say. And like he bringing his brother along, and he's doing crossword puzzles. You can see on the issue there's like crossword puzzles and everything like that. And like throughout this entire particular issue, he's like asking like the answers to asking questions to the answers to like particular riddle, and like like what's that, like 5 letters, comic entertainer, Lewis. He does that a lot. He's on crossword puzzles throughout this issue, and it's just like, I wouldn't say it's like hilarious, but it's just something that's like just like a funny, kind of like a funny little thing he's doing. This is like a gimmick he's doing throughout this issue, which I don't particularly hate. But then Black Widow is like a funny little moment, at a particular panel as they're in this diner, and she asks like, "Why is he here?" It's like, "Wait, it's my brother." And it's like, just be cool. All right. The real question is, why are you dressing like that? Because she's all like this big old kind of black, like Carmen Sandiego, but instead of red is black, and she's dressed like that in a particular diner where people just dressing just casual, and it's like, why are you dressing like that? Is like she's like, I'm it's like a kind of clandestine type of situation. It's like, no, you're pretty much standing out like a sore thumb right now because you're dressing like that. And it was just funny. It was like a funny moment. The fact that he's making Black Widow look weird by just doing what she's known, like she's a spy. She's like, she's kind of, which is kind of right. You would think like Black Widow of all people would know to, even if you're doing a clandestine thing, you dress appropriate for a particular situation. You don't want to stand out, and dressing like a black Carmen Sandiego in the middle of a diner in broad daylight is weird. But I'm not the spy, but who am I to say? But they're going over like because this, the hitman is pretty much a serial killer. He signs his work in like, it's kind of like a Target type of look with a teardrop below it. I guess it's kind of a calling card. So they get a little inside tips about that guy. While the hitman's getting information about Clint and like his little inner circle at the apartment. And then he's coming home to find these tracksuit dudes, posted outside of the apartment. They beat him up and find that Simone's being held hostage, and Clint coming in like arrows are blazing, shooting guys in the wrist with the arrows and everything like that. And then luckily he has his brother along to like sneak through the window and like take out some goons on his own right, straight up like Batman and everything like that. This is badass on his brother's part, and like saving the kids and everything like that. And of course, like Jessica Drew comes by and like give him crap because like he can't call, he couldn't go to the cops, given the fact that they not handle they. I guess he doesn't feel like they can handle this particular situation, especially dealing with like a hitman that is pretty much like a ghost that keeps showing up, randomly, and it's like nobody can seem to like apparently catch this guy outright, or doesn't appear to be equipped to catch this guy. So is he calling like she giving him a shit because he dared to. God forbid he calls the Avengers, at least anybody that he can feel like can particularly help in this situation. And then he's telling her like, oh yeah, what I'm doing is like all like, oh like don't give me crap. Like I'm a hero. I'm supposed to make sure that like if people are in danger or need help, I'm there for them. And if I ask for help, I shouldn't get any kind of resistance from my friends. Given whatever how they feel about me, they are on the same page with me on that at least, kind of situation. And then this is like a rough ending kind of situation because I always end up forgetting about this particular situation, but I think they might have maybe uh retcon this particular situation. But after Bobby comes to a conclusion, it's like, we had this place on lockdown while we're gone. How do they still manage to get in here? And and because they Clint finally come to the conclusion they already had a way inside. They was already inside this whole time, and he tried to run out with his brother in tow. As he's like running down the stairs, the hitman's behind the door, and like as Clint was walking out, he's behind him. He took two arrows that was left behind from the fight earlier and jammed those arrow tips in like Clint's ears, effectively deafening him. And then it's his brother's coming out later. He takes his gun and shoots his brother in the back. So they end up both being crippled in two different ways before Jessica managed to come down stairs, and in the end she ended up finding these two just killed over on the floor, blood. We'll eventually get to that, but we got another little Kate Bishop story here, where she's on this little adventure dealing with this former musician who's like I wouldn't say he's a bum because we find out later he does have a place to stay, but he doesn't have full control. It doesn't seem like he has full control of everything of his life. This guy who was like he's supposed to be like he was like a big deal musician back in the 60s, and like he's his work is being led by his brother, who's like they're both old people, but it's like his older brother is kind of like on like a damn near on his deathbed, and he's leaking bits and pieces of his brother's hard work that he's been doing, and like Kate just took on this case to figure things out, and uh after he's pretty much he's kind of like a witness protection kind of situation, but in the reverse, where he's being effectively held hostage by the same people who's like doing bad to him. He's like in this little space where he's got this, very famous piano, like at least the first, uh, oh wait, the first Bosen-Durber, Bosen-Durber piano, and it's sitting in the middle of a wading pool for some reason. It's like, and it's like you got a ceiling with like the solar system at the top, so it's kind of like very eccentric type of like place where he does his music, and he got like a wall full of albums. It's not labeled, but he remembers which one is which by memory. But eventually Kate try to take on these orderlies, but they eventually get the jump on him, and they drag her to the brother who's on his deathbed. Like mind you, like I mentioned, uh, uh, he just fully admits, like, yeah, I licked my stuff. So what? It was my life's work too. Our father pushed us into music. He was like a drunk and everything like that. He was, wasn't a good person. He pushed us into trying to make us, trying to profit off of us essentially. So the brother was, like a music engineer type of situation, producer, stuff like that on that side of things, while his brother was the one, making the music. And it's like he felt like his brothers like took him down because he couldn't get out of the situation. So he figured like he'll take his brother down with him, which is kind of effed up. But eventually he just, after that whole ordeal, he ended up passing away. So now his brother feels like more free, and he's sitting there, playing his music in front of a little club in front of the couple that Kate befriended and Kate, and it's like this melody that's like, Kate is just, getting the fact that crap that she's done been in, it's like a moment of peace and reprieve, and then it's interrupted by this mysterious woman who came up from behind her, whispering in her ear, like, found you, and like just turn around and like the hell, and then the woman just disappeared, and like Kate's just like befuddled, and her mood is just like that little piece was just yanked right underneath her feet, and the couple's looking at her trying to console her. It's like, Kate, what's wrong, Kate? It kind of reminds me of like the way Metal Gear Solid when something happens to Snake, and it's like, Snake. It's kind of like that in a way, like Kate. It doesn't do the Kate sound, but it might as well. It's like, Kate. I don't know why. It's just like it kind of gets to me. It's like, I should have done that. It's just funny to me. But that was just like a little adventure, little detective mission. Let's see what I got. Oh, there you go. And it's starting to get a little dark in here, so I just want to make sure that I get the lighting. Issue number 17. We're nearly done here. Another Christmas. And this is like it's gonna be a short thing, but it's kind of like another Christmas. I think it's kind of coincides with the earlier Christmas adventure, where like they're sitting there because it's obvious because like the kid's still wearing his Charlie Brown shirt. is pretty much watching this wintertime, uh, Winter Friends kind of Christmas special. It's kind of reminiscent to like the Peanuts gang kind of situation with the way the art is, and it's just like clinches, watching these cartoons and like, all these different types of animals banded together to stop this particular bad guy, which is the sun. That kind of ruined their winter wonderland adventure kind of situation, and this particular dog who comes to help. That's not part of the core group, I guess, but comes in particular help. Comes in to help in this situation with other ne'er do well dogs, and end up saving the day. So it's not like a particular. I guess it's kind of like supposed to speak to what Clint's going to eventually do, getting like a bunch of ne'er do wells together to stop this bad guy. It's not my particular favorite issue. It's similar to the dog POV issue. It's not my particular favorite and not that very interesting personally, but I just want to briefly cover it. We got another Kate Bishop adventure where you get to find out about a little bit more about that old school PI that have been helping or giving advice to Kate throughout her adventures in LA. And it's very, where it deals with Madame Mask in particular, who eventually, you get this short little background with this guy where he was young, a young detective who in the 90s, solving cases and everything like that, until he runs into this became part of this, I guess this investigation kind of led him to this particular gala or ball or party, whatever, full of rich people in LA. And certain people just hate people like that because you just got just perfect people and everything like that, and in their own little worlds and stuff like that. And just he ends up finding out via the fact that his friend at the party died just days after being told that he has a in about some kind of thing he was trying to bring him in on, but never got across with. There's a little thing he was trying to clue his friend in on, but turns out what he was trying to bring him in on, because they figure out this party is being led by Madame Mask and this other guy I don't recognize outright, but he is a particular villain given the fact that they ain't dressed up for the occasion, but you see like a panel where it's like you show who they really are, and this guy's not something I recognize outright. For the life of me, I've been trying to remember. It wasn't particularly stated. Well, it's supposed to be like a daddy-daughter thing, so I guess it's supposed to be like the father to Madame Mask. Maybe that helps, but I don't know the parents of Madame Mask. She usually is a Iron Man villain, so that's the thing. But it turns out that Madame Mask is in this little, in the market of making new bodies for people, kind of like cloning in a way, but making people stay younger by transferring or at least cloning them, essentially. I mean, it's like he remember like in his older days or younger days, I should say, going to this particular place, is abandoned place, and finding all these body parts and stuff like that. So essentially, Madam Mass is pretty much like making new people, and that's why he having so much trouble. He get caught, and then he essentially is being watched, so he can never leave L.A. Every time he tries to, he gets stopped and beat up, and to the point where it's like he has to stay, not only to like recoup and everything like that, but it's just like he cannot leave, and it's kind of like he's stuck there. He's and like the whole thing is making him sick, and with Kate's help, they managed to do like a sting operation. They run into Ward again, and who's a part of this because he's essentially under Madame Mask's thumb too. And they trying to stop this little, because we'll get into this in Kate Bishop's run because there's more of this in a way. And so Kate, with the help of the couple that she befriended throughout this adventure, helps get helps her PI friend, but they don't well, this particular mission kind of failed, but as she's talking with the detective here, who's not like that very forthcoming, but he happens to know this particular PI throughout his years as an officer. They end up finding the guy's body, with Kate's arrow in his chest, nailed to beat up and nailed to the Hollywood sign. But later then you find the couple's home was being like burnt. It was later burnt down. So this kind of escalated. Okay, this is at the point they're after their little stint in the hospital. The Barton's brother is in a wheelchair now. Hawkeye is deaf. Like I said, this issue came out in like 2013, because there's like you see on the little picture there is like you talking about like Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor: The Dark World. So this is like during the phase 2 of the MCU. So it's been a while. So I'm pretty sure throughout that time, the deaf Hawkeye's been retconned. I'm not sure they're going to put that into play in the TV show. I don't think it's needed because obviously Hawkeye is going to be using training Kate to be the next Hawkeye, so he can just retire outright. So you don't see Jeremy Renner again like that in the MCU. I don't think you'll need to deafen him in order to make sure he stays retired, because I don't think that is needed. But I could be wrong. It's their show. They might be able to work in that to make it, work. But I don't think it's needed. I hope they do not make him deaf, because by this point in the comics, Clint Barton's not deaf. If he is, I'm pretty sure, because he gets a hearing aid at the end of the whole run. But because I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure Tony Stark managed to give him something so he can be able to hear again. But I'm pretty sure that was never referenced ever again in the last, I guess, 5 years max, I think. Because there's been a lot of Avengers events and retcons and stuff like that have happened since 2013. So, I'm pretty sure that's not like a thing anymore. But for right now in this issue, Clint has to rely on reading people's lips and sign languages. So they're pretty much recouping. Ivan's coming back to regain the apartment that he ended up losing with the help of the Hitman. uh, you know, Barton's brother uh, is, forming some kind of bond with Simone and her kids. They're on the roof, and like, Clinton's just like obviously depressed. Who wouldn't be after getting arrows, jammed into their eardrums and rupturing them. Uh, Him and his brother fight briefly, but then like just after taking a breather, they come to realize it's like you know you know uh, effectively you don't have you take your pride out of it. You still you're still alive. You have me. You have like these tenants, and essentially like no matter you might have lost something, but you can still get it back. So he gathered the tenants together to like form some kind of like essentially like a posse. We'll stick together. We'll take this apartment back, and we'll keep these guys from ever bothering us again. And so, like at the end of the issue, Barton and his brother goes to that shop where like or at least a bar where the Tracksuit Mafia usually hangs out, and they come back and they just like beat everybody up and shoot them with arrows and stuff like that. It's like just like a massive payback. Like what they did won't stand. And this is the whole situation with Kate in L.A. After she gets some information about tracking down with the help of the Flores, they track down how to get in to like deal with Madame Mask, who were like she finds out is responsible for the whole situation. She comes undercover as like those particular like parties where you eat sushi off a naked woman. She comes like that, which I didn't realize at first until like two pages in, 2 or 3 pages in, and it's like a funny moment when it's like when Kate is being brought in by the police. And she wants her phone call, and then she's like calling the detective. After she was essentially accused of killing the PI, and like she's on the phone with his detective dude she's been like dealing with this whole time, and it's like why would I kill a guy and then go out my way to come to the police station, and then you have pictures of me doing another thing earlier, which I wouldn't have no time to do what I'm accused of doing, and come all the way down to see you throughout this whole event. And then you look over in the panel, and like the detective's looking over, and it's like she's calling right there on the payphone, and it's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And it's like, get out the phone and come over here. It's like it was a funny thing. It was like a funny little moment. And like as soon as she was released, she gets bailed out by the couple, and like you see the PI guy in the back, and she faints, not knowing like what the hell's going on. And it turns out like he's a clone himself, because death is not final for Madame Mask, so she still wants around for various things. Like she brought me back to torture me all over again. Apparently she's been doing this for like 20 years. She leases you a body, but you sell her your soul situation. So it's just like how like certain rich people can stay young forever, and they pay out the yin yang to get that to Madame Mask. So he uses himself as a bait. So Kate can break in and steal the files off the her computer. And then you can see like certain panels where she's talking with Murray Hill and Phil Coulson about this situation, and she found like some information on the files with her father's name on it. And it turns out, and she beats up these bellhop goons, and uh, and then sets Madame Mask's house on fire as payback for letting her place on fire. But these bellhop goons, I guess they're clones too, essentially, or something like that, because it's kind of like Dollartrons from like if you ever watched me play my I don't think the audio quality wasn't that good at the time, but if you ever watched my walkthrough of Batman Arkham Knight, and you see like my little side mission dealing with Professor Pig, because he likes to cut up people, make them into Dollartrons, kind of like mindless dolls for perfection, whatever like that. It's kind of similar to the situation, except they're not mindless, and they still have their faculties, from their previous life, but they're kind of like in her thrall essentially. And these bellhop boys are coming out of the building, still on fire, and still trying to attack Kate, and it's like really messed up. But then Shield agents come busting in, like a Deus Ex Machina kind of situation, because I guess they were still keeping tabs on her. They ain't giving her much information about like after she asked like, oh, did you arrest her? And he's just like, do this, like, cause tell me I didn't do all this for nothing. And like Maria's like, of course you did, it was for nothing. It wasn't for nothing. It just is not your thing. And so like, I like to call my father, please. And then you see her like and then you see like discussing on her way back to New York after this adventure. She's like on the phone with her father, and she's telling like, I'm going to deal with a situation back at home, but once I'm done, you and me gonna have some words. Because early in the issue, like you see a man on like a yacht and everything like that, and talking with some girl, and like obviously he's like the father, and not realizing it's Kate at the end and so she's like driving back to New York after this adventure dealing with Madame Mask, and I guess we'll find out what the Shield agents managed to do with Madame Mask, because you see them breaking in and having her in at gunpoint. She's completely surrounded. So that little operation is, for the moment, has been neutralized. Or has it? Next thing in this like issue 21, where it's like you got Jessica Drew, patches things up with Clint, apologizing for hitting him, and he apologizes for being like a jerk. They're finally like organizing. It's like a funny little comment Clint made, talking about like, yeah, this is not going to be like a Home Alone situation where we can do some mix of traps and it's not going to cut it in this situation. We want to have to like really like organize some kind of like stand your ground, set up like this place like a fortress, and like really beat these guys back. But they sent in like Simone and her kids away because they don't want to get these kids caught up in this mess, and they're like hightailing out here while they set everything up. The tracksuit mafia guys finally roll up with the hitman, staying in the car. There's literally like medieval kind of siege situation where like the Gil's father's on the roof with like burning coals and these kind of woks, and he's like dumping them over on the side of the building, and flaming coals come crashing down on top of some of these goons, and it was like straight up like medieval times situation. It was really like a cool situation, and they running up, the rest of the goons are running up the stairs, and like it's completely like partway through it's completely barricaded by all these tables and chairs. It's really thick, so they have to physically move each one to get by, and it's like really crammed in there, so it's like blocking them off. And then one of the other tenants, this lady with the pink hair, got earlier gets keys from Clint, and like used the Dodge Charger to plow right through some of them on the streets, taking them out. When she gets knocked out in the process, after crashing into the building. And Clint is dealing with Ivan and the mime hitman guy. Clint managed to get a shot off in the mime's. I'm just calling him mime hitman. The mime hitman in his chest with an arrow, or at least shoulder. And then one of the old ladies who lived in the apartment cold cocks, Clint in the head with a bat, essentially knocking him out. And it turns out she's like Russian, so she's part of this. And that's how like they keep getting in. And and because of her, like Gil got killed. And then Gil and the Barton brothers essentially, well, Clinton's older brother, despite him being in a chair, still like takes some guys out until one guy comes up behind him and shivs in the back, and then Clint gets up and just beats the hell out of this dude, and like assuming he's dying, but obviously not. We will see why in the last issue. Okay, final page of Matt Fraction's Hawkeye. Clint runs down to downstairs to see like the redhead girl with a gun pointed at the mime hitman and Ivan. And Clint, takes the arrow through the glass to break in, do this cool roll and like arrow drawn. And of course, like, dog Lucky comes in to like take down Ivan and like, causing like the mime hitman who had a shotgun in his hand to like, bump into him, and like, the gun went off in the floor instead. And then, Kate Bishop's showing up. Well, I think like there's two dogs. There's like one Lucky and another dog that's with Kate, and Kate's running in, coming straight from LA, coming in. Now, mind you, LA to New York is quite a long way. I'm not sure like the time frame it is. I'm not sure how she made it back in time. Maybe it's like she was already on her way during the whole situation with the ruptured ears and the hospital stint and that kind of thing. So maybe she was already in the middle of driving back when they was recuperating. We just managed to flash back to her adventures that led up to that moment. But she's here as, obviously backup. And she takes out the goons that's remaining on the stairs, and like she got her arrow drawn to the hitman and on one side, and Clint had his arrow drawn on the other side. So it should be dead to rights at this point. But dude gives 0 Fs. And Kate doesn't even find out who this guy is throughout this whole run. She doesn't figure out it's the guy she made out with at that party, which is weird. I thought that would be addressed, but it did not turn out that way. So, you know, the redhead tried to, take a shot off at the dude. So like everybody's, firing something. And then the dog jumps in, takes the hit instead of the redhead. The shotgun blast from the hitman, and then Clint tackles the dude, and they end up fighting. And like Kate takes down Ivan with like was kind of like a move where I seen only in an old Punisher comic where he had like this bad guy he dead to rights. A cop was there, and the cop said like, "Do not pull that trigger, or I will take you down." And it's like, and like it's like, okay. And then he tosses the gun in the air, and then the bad guy, grabs it, and was about to fire until the cop had to shoot that guy and pissing him off. So this kind of situation, he calls it like, well, this justifiable homicide kind of situation. Well, Kate, had his gun drawn on Ivan. She tosses in the air, and then as he's trying to catch it, because she's not a killer, but she manages to grab a bow, fire an arrow, nailing it in, like doing the time is flying in the air, and he's just about to catch it, and an arrow right in the wrist gets at him. That is like fast, because like you ever toss something to somebody and that little split second while it's in the air in motion about to be grabbed, and like somebody managed to get a bow and arrow in hand, arrow drawn, fire it, and nail your shot. And that kind of speed, that is incredible. That blew my mind. I love that so much. So it took down Ivan. And during this whole ordeal, Hawkeye's dealing with the hitman. And then Kate comes in before like the hitman managed to end up killing. He already shot Clint in the arm. But before he can finish him off, Kate comes in. But is overpowered by the hitman until like Clint has like, I don't know, like a toothpick thing, and then flings it, nailing the guy in the eye or something like that, and then just persists to beat the hell out of him, then tie him up. And he does this little sign language like thank you, like it's like you see early in like during the issue after he's coming from the hospital after the rustle eardrums, is like you sign like the name of the issue with like Hawkeye. It teaches you how to sign Hawkeye. I'll get to that in a moment. I forgot which one was that. Was this like a few issues ago? But this whole ordeal is over. The tracksuit guys is like handled. The brother is like gone mysteriously. Turns out to be on a boat with Simone and her kids with the money which the tracksuit guys had. And then the redheaded woman thanks Clint, and then manages to take a plane ride out of town. And turns out she's in the same plane as like the old guy and the old woman who I guess turns out to be uh, the wife of the old guy. And that's probably why she's been helping us so much. It's like that's weird how nobody figured that out. But I guess they cut their losses and like just leaving town because their whole organization has been completely neutralized by Hawkeye, the both Hawkeyes, and it's just like more trouble than they're worth. I'm surprised, like Norman Wilson Fisk. I'm surprised they're even still alive because he doesn't make sure there's no loose ends. He doesn't care. I'm surprised they're even still alive, but whatever. But then like all these criminals are deciding, okay, I guess we're killing some Avengers, and just like they just so fed up with like whole uh this whole ordeal has been like giving them just headache, and it's because of these two Hawkeyes. So yeah, Hawkeye got his little advanced hearing aid, and he just practicing his shooting in his apartment with Kate, and just that's the end of the entire run. I mean, I love this. This is great, like a Hawkeye story, and like I love it. I love it. This is like a great run. I'd highly recommend you guys checking this out, especially if you want to learn a bit about Hawkeye himself, and like know the dude. It's a good jumping on point to if you're not a Hawkeye fan and you want to learn more about him. Check this out. Or if you are a Hawkeye fan, definitely give this a reread if you haven't already read it. Read it, or if you read it again, read it again. It's pretty dang cool. This one is I'm trying to get to the thing where does that sign language thing. Where is it? Oh, there you go. Okay, I want to try this. Yeah, because you see like a title like before the issue. This is issue 19. Before the issue starts, you see like the name of the writer and so forth. You see at the top it says Clint Barton, aka, and you see that the sign language is supposed to be reading out as Hawkeye, and it goes like oh, I know you can't see none of that. Let me do that again, but yeah, utilize that. Yeah, let me try it again. Yeah, I mean, learning sign language is probably like a very cool thing, but like just I don't know, maybe like at some point, it's kind of like learning a new language. I think like learning sign language is like a good skill to have. And it's like a very cool thing to just do, and it's probably very impressive for just if you're hanging out with a girl and like you trying to like impress her, you teach her a little bit of sign language. It's like the only thing like I know is someone uh like I was it I like I'm trying to say I love you, but it's like I'm kind of messing that up. But I know, thank you. I know that much. Uh, but yeah, sign language is pretty damn cool. It's like being able to do it fast is takes some practice too. But like I said, this is a great run. Highly recommend it. Uh, cannot wait for the TV show to come out in November. Pretty much like a Die Hard thing, and I will get to Kate Bishop Hawkeye next, probably at some point next month, more than likely, maybe towards the end of next month before I take my vacation trip, because I want to get that out there before definitely before the TV show comes about, because the TV show comes out November 24th. So I'm definitely gonna have Kate Bishop stuff long out before then. So look forward to that. And if you have any recommendations of comics that you want for me to review, I'll definitely put on a list and get that out there. So don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Let me know what you think of Hawkeye as a character, what you think of him in the comics, the movies, what you like about him, what you dislike about him, just anything Hawkeye related. Please leave it a comment below. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys next time for another review. Peace. And